Hello, Steve White for Steve Arts 89. Down to the last of the He-Man books from Dark Horse. I've been going through. This is the newspaper and comic strips. Now, I grew up reading an assortment of He-Man books. There were the mini comics, the Ladybird books, some of them book and tape, the storybooks, some of them book and tape as well, and of course the actual standard comics and some of the other bigger storybooks. They had a lot of variations, a lot of formats. But the newspaper comic strips, I never even knew they existed until I saw this book. Now, again, we have the blue inside covers. I hate. I don't know why they went with blue. Master Universe for me is red. They could, if they'd at least gone red, it would have made some sense. But yeah, this is. How big is this one? Is. Trying to see the pages. The other volumes are between 500, 600, 700 pages. Now this one is in a larger format, in case you can't tell. And they just go through all of it, I think. They basically start off with, forward, a little bit of information, but that's later on. It's mostly just reprinting them, and the artwork itself is nice. Much like the Star Trek Los Angeles Times newspaper strips, which were reprinted, they were done in black and white and colour. The daily ones were colour, the daily ones were black and white, the weekend ones were usually colour. So you'll get a bunch of black and white strips and then you get like a page of colour. And it's a little jarring sometimes, but the fact you usually have, at least with the reprints, a little bit of colour on each page, it works. But the artwork is actually really nice, and I can't believe I haven't read all these. There's actually so much story that I actually haven't read. Now, I'm not sure how much they follow the continuity of the cartoon or the comics from, or the mini comics, or the mythology of the toys, because I haven't really examined this. I didn't know it existed before. And I'm pretty sure they do each one in the story arc, because each little page, for this little strip for each day, is all part of an overall story, and they usually treat them like one story or one comic and show them like that. So I guess I'm not going to go through all of this. The art is fairly consistent, and the colour pages shift because the amount of pages, days, is not always the same. It's an odd number, so they shift and move around. They go from one side to the next. But I mean, if they're all colour, it'd be pretty, all black and white, it'd be pretty painful. So you appreciate the colour more when you're reading it, because going from black and white to colour, it's a bit jarring. But because I haven't read this, but I have read the Star Trek ones. I sat down, I think there's 3 volumes of them, or 5. 2 for the UK comics and 1 for... They were done in a different format. And I actually... So you get like a page colour, then page black and white, then halves, and full, and very similar. And I think there's 2 of those volumes. And I think it took me probably a couple of days on each one to get through it all. It was great, because I kind of felt like I'd read all Star Trek, I'd read all the stories, and then I found there's this whole mass of Star Trek I hadn't had, and now there's a whole mass of He-Man that I haven't read, which I kind of forgot I hadn't read this, and now I'm looking at it thinking, shit, I gotta read all this. Yeah. Unlike the Star Trek ones, unfortunately, the quality of the Star Trek art dropped drastically towards the end. The last few stories picked up and were quite good, but there was a stretch where the quality dropped drastically. And it wasn't just the art, and they actually stopped producing colour, which looks like they did the same here. It looks like it just went to straight black and white. So they probably lost their prominence as it was losing popularity. It probably wasn't the focus of the Sunday paper where that would have been colour. Something else would have taken over as the most popular thing. And the only real problem with this volume, which I remember, is they have some missing pages. So they basically explain to you the part of that story. And the issue I have, which drives me mad with this, is you don't need a whole page to show this. They could have just had that bit of text where one of the normal strips was and continued on. There's a lot of wasted space in the last section of the book, where you could have had a few less pages and less space with empty, although it doesn't look like as much now, but I remember going through it, looking through every page and finding a lot of blank pages. But yeah, the artwork kept fairly consistent. Even when they lost colour, they didn't lose overall quality. And yeah, see, that kind of is better because you've got a strip and there's like a strip explaining what happened in that strip. But some of them, they had a whole page like that. Like, okay, I know it's a Sunday page. It took up a whole page, but you only need one strip for the text to explain what happened in it. So I don't know why they did that. It probably only cost the book about 10 pages, but I would have done that differently. So now we come to the end. There's a little bit of bonus content, pitch strips, differences in the syndications, some of the scripts, story excerpts, letters. I'm guessing they had a fair amount of freedom. I don't recall hearing that they were getting many orders or letters from the companies, but same thing as the other one. We get a nice little catalogue with the books in the back, and yeah, that's that one. They all have a nice little bookmark. So that's the end of my He-Man books that I wanted to go through. Yeah, I'm glad I bought them. I would suggest if you're a fan, despite the few little flaws, they are well worth it. There's a lot of information, a lot of images. They really, like, the time it took me just to look through these on videos is nothing compared to the time you can actually lose just enjoying them. So I hope you guys got something out of that. Thanks, bye.